Hello everyone, my name is Quinn, founder of NewBreedAgent.com, and in this video we're going to be concluding the overview of our program, New Breed Agent Academy 2.0, and share with you a little bit about week 8, which is personally one of my favorites. It's called a Symphony of Efficiency. And this entire week, week 8 is designed around the premise that real estate transactions are currently inefficient. And what I mean by that is that we need to begin to productize real estate transactions to the best of our ability. And for us as individual agents or agents that have a team, this becomes really important because the technology that's available allows us to do this and at least make it a lot easier and simple on our clients. And so what I do in this week is really outline what this looks like, how we apply it, and ultimately the vision that we're trying to strive towards, which is to make it as simple as possible. And if you study and look at the companies that are out there, for example, some of these aren't necessarily traditional real estate sales, but you're going to be able to see, what these types of companies do when it comes to, a real estate transaction. And there's a ton of them out there, but really these are 4 that just come off the top of my head. So Zumper, Sunday, HomeShake, Loan Depot, there's one called Rent.ly. Now, like I said, these aren't all specific to like somebody buying or selling a home. But what you'll see is that the technology is currently there to productize real estate transactions. And especially when you look at Loan Depot, we've had the pleasure of working with a client that was, under Loan Depot, and we were able to see the technology that they're developing, the softwares, the developers, everything that they're doing to make what humans do kind of irrelevant. And so really, like I've mentioned in multiple videos, I'm not here to say one is better than the other. I believe if you can combine a little bit of both, if you can show up, be a human, connect with people, and then you also have the ability to make things streamline and make things as easy as possible, you're really going to be at an unfair advantage, okay? And the reason I say this is because most agents currently operate as the sole, person in their business. And because of that, they have to manage all of the different aspects of the transaction. They have to do the communication. They have to do the, different workflows and conditions. And so what we do in week 8 is we really isolate each of these components that make up a real estate transaction. And we talk about how we can begin the process of productizing them and turning them, making them as simple as possible. And so what you'll see is that we have productizing real estate transaction, we have content information portals, then we have streamlining processes, workflows and automation, and client onboarding. And there's obviously more to it, but this should give you a general idea of, how we go about this in the program. So when it comes to productizing the real estate transaction, just imagine that, there's starting here and then we want to take somebody here, right? And what happens is that right now there's a lot of stuff that humans have to do manually. And because humans have to do it manually, this creates delays in time, this creates confusion and ultimately complexity and just makes things less streamlined. So we want to remove the ability or the necessity to have to think about what we're going to do that's going to get this end result, right? So if we can just remove having to even think about how to get from here to here, and we can use computers and automation and workflows, then things are going to become much more streamlined. And so my belief is that we can combine the technology, right, like the automation, the timing, and when things should be sent, and how they should be sent, and all these different things with video, right, with creating kind of like this virtual conveyor belt with videos and different things like that, so that you can begin to streamline your own business and streamline your own back end. And a perfect example of this is what I've decided to do with my business. So in the first video of this series, I talked about the New Breed Agent Blueprint. So we have the client attraction machine, we have the conversion right? And then we have the service delivery and then the economic machine. But for me, the service delivery used to be, getting a client, right? Trying to attract the client, trying to get them to convert, and doing the service delivery, setting up the ads, getting their Facebook ads manager, getting their photos, getting their logo, getting all these different things, right? And, informing them on what's to come and all these different aspects, answering frequently asked questions, you name it, right? And so what I began to see was that this same four components of my business was ultimately the same components with really any business to some extent. And so what I started to see was that I was pretty good at, getting people to convert, but then the service delivery is where I would stop, and I wouldn't have the ability to then attract new clientele, right? So then because of that was where I started running ads. Then I realized I could attract new people systematically, and then I would have to spend more time converting, right? And then I was trying to convert, and then there was basically bottlenecks in these aspects of my business. And so what I realized is that, hey, this is actually what's occurring for real estate agents, right? So when people would buy my service, I would flood the attraction, I would flood them with new leads, new opportunities, and then they would either get stuck in the conversion or the service delivery. And so what I started to see is I personally went through the process of transcending each of these different aspects. And right now, I'm really working on making this as efficient and as streamlined as possible. And so right now, I've turned my service delivery into a program, right? So now people watch video trainings and they learn how to actually do these things themselves. And what's awesome about this is that, I can attract clients, I can convert them, and then when they're ready to move forward, they just start self-serving. They can skip around, they can go to week 4, they can go to week 5, they can just extract the one piece that they need, and they don't, necessarily me to actually do it, right? And so this is where I see real estate going to some extent, and it may not necessarily be completely with videos and having people sell and buy their own homes, but if you look at Sunday, I believe, they are a messaging service in a way where they connect home sellers with potential home buyers. And so they're giving people a direct line of communication so that they can actually just sell and buy their own homes together, and Sunday's kind of in the middle. And if you look at Airbnb, you're seeing this concept of just having the platform really become extremely valuable, right? So maybe right now it doesn't become a series of videos that you create for your clients so that they can sell their own home. But what you can do is you can utilize these videos and different things to move them through kind of the reference points or the main milestones of the transaction. And then what happens is let's say this is a video and this is a video, and then there's a gap here. Well, here is where you can put in a Facebook group so that person can, ask a question in a group and you can answer it there. Because then if you have, let's say, multiple transactions going on with multiple different people and with, multiple different areas, well, let's say you have 3 people in this current gap, they all have questions. If they all post those questions in the group and you record a video or you answer that question in the group, then those 2 other members can see that question and potentially answer their own question. And the same thing goes here. Maybe you have one person clogged right here and they, post their question in the group, right? And so all these things build and create a flywheel so that instead of just manually doing everything yourself, you want to start getting into decentralization of your real estate business. And that's ultimately the entire theme of this week. So that's a centralized real estate business, right? So you've got to deal with communication, you've got to do the sales, you got to do the attraction, you got to do the, organizing the listing photos with the photographer and, client communication, client support. And so what we teach is basically how do you take, those same raw materials that you're going to have to deal with, and how do we start to decentralize them, right? So that it kind of looks something like that. And I know I'm drawing on other stuff, but the point is that if we can create branches and different nodes that hold different information for specific things, we don't actually have to do as much of the stuff that we've been conditioned to do, right? So for example, let's say that, right here, this is all about sellers, right? And here you have questions and data and videos and just all these different things here, right? Here maybe you have client support, so here's where you streamline the different support. Here's maybe you have an online calendar so that anytime someone needs your attention or has a specific question, maybe they first go through the portal, they first go through the group, they first go through the videos, then they actually book in a one-on-one call with you, right? So once you start to design and think this way, ultimately it's going to be you that's going to be able to identify these gaps and these problems in your business. But once you have the tools and the systems that can enable you to actually do these things, anytime there's like a gap, right? Anytime you have a gap in the process or a gap in what you're trying to create, this is where you can fill it in. And personally, I've said this multiple times, I'll say it again. Video is going to be your friend. And video doesn't mean, setting up a camera like this, getting a whiteboard, and maybe if it is for you, that's great. But imagine you teaching somebody about the entire seller's process, the entire buyer's process, so that if they have questions, they could just go back, watch the video, and then they answer their question and they go on with their day, right? So another theme in this week is that, clients don't necessarily want you, they want that result. They want that answer to the question. I almost dropped the cap here, but they want these different things, right, from you. And so if you have them, if you've designed your business like that, well, then they think that, oh, well, I got to go through here to get this. I got to go through all these different channels to try to get that answer from them. But if they know, hey, well, I can go to the group, or I can go to the program, or I can go here to learn that, or this and that, then things really start to get, exciting here. And you could do a lot more with this than you potentially could even adding a new person. If you do this well and you transfer information you have into, like a portal, I recommend Kajabi, and there's maybe a link below. It's a referral link, but I personally use Kajabi. I think you'll get like a free 14-day trial or something. But you can put information and content into this type of a portal so that when somebody decides to work with you, maybe they have lifetime access. Like, what happens after I buy my home? How do I manage my equity? How do I manage my financial data? How do I build wealth, right? So the process or the transaction doesn't just end once they get the keys and that's it, right? There's things that happened after, right? How do you create content to even increase that repeat and referral business through a portal, right? So in one of the modules in week 8, I call it Thinking Differently, because like I said, I've talked with a lot of agents and, they're not really thinking about it this way. So, you do have to think differently. You do have to challenge the status quo, because if you go to the everyday, real estate agent and say, hey, look, I'm going to streamline my processes. I'm going to decentralize my real estate business. I'm going to fill in gaps with groups and content and videos and value. Most people are not going to really resonate or know what that even means. So you have to think differently in order to actually see the vision of this, right? And so when it comes to workflows and automation, like I said, you can do much more with one person initially and decentralized information architecture than you potentially could with 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 people. Because ultimately, if you're the best at understanding your business, the workflows, the automation, and you know how to use them, then you can start basically replacing, new people with computers that just automatically do it. So a perfect example of this for me is a client onboarding. So what I used to do with clients is that when they would sign up to work with me, they would basically, they would pay, and then I would because when I didn't know at the beginning, I could do this. So I used to start the project, hey, give me your login for your Facebook. So I get your login for their Facebook. And then I would, text them later and be like, oh, I need some photos. And then the next day I'd be like, oh, I need some videos. And then before you know it, over time, I would just basically get all of this information and you know, basically media and data and just resources, and it would delay over a week or even 2 weeks, right? But as I began to do this over and over and over again, I realized, wait, I could get all this information up front. And yeah, it may take the client a little bit more time to actually go through the process. They may have to sit down and do some stuff to actually get it to me, but it's going to be way better to spend 40 minutes now getting me the videos, getting me the logo, getting me the passwords, getting me the login, getting me the URLs, the everything, so that I just got basically the essence of what it is that I needed, right? So when I decided to do this, right, it changed my business because I started to eliminate time from the service delivery, because, you know, whereas this would take 2 weeks to kind of figure out manually, I just created basically a set of different web pages, and we give this away in our program, where I create the introduction, I tell them what to expect, I tell them about our process, I collect the assets, I collect the contract, and all these things were automated. So where before I would have to, you know, do these things and text and call and chase them down, frankly, you know, then when they would pay, I would just send them a link. And so I would say on the phone, I said, hey, so congratulations, you're on board. I just sent you a link to our onboarding process and funnel. It's going to take about 30 to 40 minutes. And it's basically just a collection of videos in sequential order that walk you through the entire process of working with us, what to expect, you know, our process and, you know, realistic expectations, you know, getting your assets and media, signing the contract, and scheduling your first appointment, like your first strategy session, right? So this was insane, because now if I got, let's say, I never had this, but let's say I got 25 clients in one day. Well, I could, you know, I would have some sort of bottleneck because I'd have to call each of these people, but realistically, if they just paid, I can send a mass email to those 25 people and send them a link to this thing, and they could all self-onboard. And then I go and check my computer and realize, wow, I just got 25 people on board in, you know, 1 hour. So they could all be doing it at the same time, different places, and all I do is I just see the passwords, I see the stuff I need, and then off we go, right? So it's kind of crazy because, like I said, most agents just think that clients want them, clients want all their time, clients want their attention, but really most of the time you're going to find they just want that result, right? If they could get it in pill form and say, hey, I just want to swallow a pill, my house is sold, I net the money I want to net, and off I go, you know, most of them would probably take that chance, right? So the challenge of being a real estate agent and being an entrepreneur is using the technology effectively so that you can begin to design this stuff so that it is as close to being in pill form. And that's what I've tried to do with my program, and I think we've done a pretty good job, is like, we take people through the process that they need to make this transformation. And you do need everything we shared here. We do need the foundations and fundamentals. You do need the mindset. You do need minimum viable technology. You do need to understand the marketing, the ads, right? The sales, the organic marketing bonuses. And then what I'm saying here, right? It's not just, oh, give me just this piece of it. But if it is, well, they can just go right to those set of videos, and they could replay it, they could watch it again, they could rewind it, they could speed it up. And another cool thing that we did was that we actually invested into getting our the entire program transcribed. So this was another thing, and it was like, yeah, because really what I realized is everything I was doing could be applied to real estate, right? So what we did is we got every word, right? So just like in this video, right? I'm communicating and I'm saying things, right? And what I was able to do is we were able to get it fully written out. We were also able to get MP3. We were also able to get MP4, which is video and audio. And then, you know, PDFs, and, you know, you could obviously do the actual slides themselves, right? So I was able to get 5 pieces or 5 forms of content just with one video, right? So with this video, you're seeing the video, right? But we could simply extract the audio. So it's video and it's audio. That's 2 forms right there. Then we could also get it transcribed. So every word that I'm saying, every piece of content that I'm covering, when I say streamlining processes or client onboarding or content information portals, we made it so that in the content portal that we have, you could search, okay? Search is a huge feature, and if you don't believe me, just look at what Zillow is. Zillow is like the Google for homes, okay? So it's all based on search. And so when people want to search, you're really searching for some sort of word, right? You can't just search for like something that's not written or at least classified to some extent. So what we did is, like I said, every module, every video in the program is transcribed. So let's say you wanted to, listen to something about Facebook ads. Well, you can type that in, and then it's going to show you every word that I ever said that's related to Facebook ads. And maybe it's something specific, like maybe I talk about, let's just say I talk about Loom, right? Loom, the video software I recommend. Well, maybe anytime that I mention Loom, you remembered like, he said, like maybe you're looking for something that's not Loom, but it's closely related to like when I said Loom. So you type it in, and then maybe you're able to see like, oh wait, he said, it was this thing, and then that thing, comes right before I said Loom, and now you're able to access the information, right? So this is the key, is like we have to think differently about the whole thing. It's not just getting leads. I mean, that's one main component, but ultimately what's going to happen is you want to start making this so fluid that you feel like, man, not only am I getting leads, not only am I converting them and, taking them through this self-service production line and milestone, framework, but when they come on board, they're getting this productized real estate transaction feel. They're getting this, like valuable information over the duration of like owning their home or buying their home, right? And we're streamlining things. We're making things easy to find, written, MP3, MP4, PDF, slides, client onboarding. We're making that easy, right? So this is just a sliver of week 8. I mean, we actually show you how to do it. I actually give you these different funnels as well. So I show you how to, create this thing, and really all this requires is just video, right? But I give you the frameworks of it and the templates, and then you just make them unique to you. But the 4-step digital sales process that we, have become known for is basically, that's just one piece. Like that's just a digital sales process chain, but you need all of these things online to cross communicate with each other. Doesn't mean you go crazy and do a bunch of stuff that you can't keep track of, but it means you should have processes. You should have an online process for buyers. You should have an online process for sellers. You should have an online process for, if you work with other people as well, you should have that, right? You should have clear things that all lead and direct to something that's very clean, right? And then when someone onboards as a seller, you should have a seller onboarding funnel, right? You should have a buyer onboarding funnel, okay? And so once again, you kind of have to see this stuff to actually know, how to do it and actually for it to make sense. But hopefully this gave you some insight into, just how we conclude the program and just conclude it with like some massive value here, because really this is my favorite part, because getting leads is, that's pretty much a formula that anyone could figure out. You can figure out how to set up automation and, do different things, but really what we do best is helping you plug these gaps in the smartest way possible. Like if there's a gap in conversion, how do we add different things in there that increase conversion at these stages, right? So this is the key. This is one of the keys to this 4-step New Breed Agent Blueprint. We have client attraction, client conversion, client service delivery, and this ultimately the economic machine that my invitation to you is to do these things extremely well so that you have the ability to change the world in the way that you see fit. So with that being said, that's going to end this series of videos. I took you through the foundation, so the New Breed Agent Blueprint, and then weeks 1 through 8. So I'm going to be continuing to make videos, content that's in some way related to the program, but really just different insights, valuable lessons, and things that I've learned and how we can apply this to our real estate business. So with that being said, you know the drill. There is a button below or a link below where you can schedule a call if this is something that you're interested in. I truly hope that you found this short series valuable, and I'll look forward to seeing you in the next videos. All right, talk to you later. Bye-bye.